y'all, welcome back to another canning video. Here is a list of things that I will be adding to, but things that I know that I want to do to finish filling up my pantry before winter. And the first thing we're going to start with are some tomatoes. We had purchased a big box of Roma tomatoes at a local farm stand, and these had quite a few marks on them. The skins were damaged, I guess. And so I'm actually going to de-skin these. I don't usually do that. If you guys have been here a while, you know that when I do tomatoes, I just use my immersion blender and blend it all up together. But on this day, I am going to wash off all of the tomatoes. I'm going to cut them in half, put them on a sheet pan, flesh side down. I'm going to bake them for about a couple of hours, get the skins nice and charred, and then let those cool, and then the skins will come off easy peasy. And so I'm going to do that with this bunch, and then all I'm doing with these tomatoes is making some tomato sauce. I think I have like 3 or 4 jars left on my shelf in my pantry, so I am in need of some tomato sauce. So I'm going to get these ready to go into the oven, and then we'll move on to something else. The tomatoes are basically an all-day project for me. Actually, in this case, it's a 2-day project because you've got to clean them, you've got to bake them to get the skins off, and then I'm going to take you through it. I'm going to take you through it in real time. So we're going to come back to the tomatoes in just a little bit. Right now, I am working on a recipe that I always have on my shelf, and I usually do this in the winter months when I do winter canning. This is one of those projects. However, I am out of my chicken soup base, and so I love it. We love it. I use it for all kinds of different things. It's versatile for if you want to do like a creamy chicken and vegetable soup, or chicken noodle soup, or a chicken pot pie, any kind of a casserole, that's what I use it for. And so I'm out, and I wanted to go ahead and put some of this on my shelf. Now, these ingredients are not fresh from my garden or a local produce stand. I bought all of these ingredients from Walmart. Usually I will get frozen vegetables, but they did not have frozen green beans, so I am using fresh. I'm just going to cut the tips off and then cut these to bite-sized pieces. I've already done my potatoes. I peeled and washed those and put those into bite-sized pieces, and I'm using frozen carrots. Now, normally I will do double the chicken of what you see here, and I thought that I had ordered that from Walmart, but I didn't. So if you follow this recipe, get double the chicken. This is 1 family pack of chicken tenderloins that I'm cutting up. I meant to get 2. So that being said, my jars are not going to be as full. And I was debating whether or not I wanted to put corn in here. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. And because I didn't have enough chicken, I am going to add corn. We had 4 ears of corn in the refrigerator that we had purchased from the store. So I'm just going to cut the kernels off the cob, and then I'm going to add it to the top of each of these jars. Once I have all of my ingredients ready, I'm just going to start filling the jars. I start with the chicken, and then I do green beans, carrots, and then the corn. you don't have to add any kind of seasoning to this. You can wait until you pop open the jar and add your seasonings then. However, I'm going to go ahead and add 1/4 of a teaspoon of chicken bouillon powder, and then an 1/8 of a teaspoon of pink Himalayan salt. I fill these up with cold filtered water. I'm starting with a cold jar. All the ingredients are cold, and I'm going to add cold water, and then I'm going to add it to a cold canner so that everything comes up to temperature at the same time. Since these are quart jars and they have meat in them, they will process for 90 minutes. And don't forget to do all the necessary things. You want to debubble, you want to wipe your rims. I use vinegar. Sometimes I just use hot water. But on this occasion, I'm using vinegar to wipe off the lid so that there's nothing hindering the sealing process. And then you're going to add your lids and your rings and then put them in the canner. I'm back to checking on my tomatoes. I had to do these in batches because only 2 pans would fit in my oven at a time, but we're going to get the second batch going, and this first batch has cooled off, and so Robbie will pop in here in a minute. He's going to help me take the skins off, and we just throw the meat into the pot. I do not get to do any more to these on this evening. It was getting late. I was tired. So I just throw the pot into the refrigerator, and then the next day, first thing, I'm going to get up and start cooking these tomatoes down. Before bed, I have one last task to do, and that is take the chicken soup base out of the canner, and you will see here in just a minute, it is just beautiful. This is one of those pretty things I like to have on my shelf. If you're a canner, you do understand that. You like how beautiful your home canned goods look on the shelf, and I love it. So I'm going to get my jars out, and they will begin to seal, and then we'll get up the next day and start on the tomatoes. So these have been cooking for a little while. They're nice and warm all the way through. And I'm going to go ahead and take my immersion blender, and I'm going to chop. I'm going to get these as finely sauced as I can. And then I'm going to let this cook for a few hours to not cook way down. I'm going to evaporate a little bit of the liquid that's in there and get that taken care of before I start the canning process. while my tomatoes are cooking, I'm going to go ahead and start on my peppers. We had purchased a few peppers from the local farm stand where we got the tomatoes, and then I had my father-in-law gave me a few jalapenos, and then we also had some from our own garden that we are adding to the mix, and I am just mixing them all up together. There are cubanos, poblanos, and what else? Jalapeno and banana peppers, all hot peppers. And so I'm gonna take the seeds out. If you have a few seeds in there, that's okay. I'm not worried about it. And I'm gonna take the stems off of them, and then I'm gonna use my little handy dandy chopper thing. I changed the blade. I used it for the potatoes, and I chopped it up into bite-sized pieces. And then I'm going to change the blade to make these a very, very small dice. So I can just use a handful here and there. I hadn't decided at this time if I was going to can them or freeze them. Last year I canned them, and it was really nice to have on the shelf. But this year I'm thinking about freezing them, and I think that's the way that I'm going to go, just because I'm not limited to how much is in a jar. I can add or take away from what I need at that time or whatever I'm cooking. We use this in anything Mexican, taco salads, quesadillas. I like to use these for Mexican cornbread or any kind of a Mexican soup that I'm making. So these are very versatile, and I love having these on hand. If you like to have hot, spicy things on hand and you don't mind the heat, then you do not have to do all the de-seeding and deveining that I did to these peppers. You can just chop the tips up, the stems off, and then start chopping them in your chopper, and that is just fine too if that's all you want. I end up with quite a few seeds in my bags, but that's okay. I'm not worried about it. I just, just a little bit here and there is enough. Taking a baking sheet, and I'm going to put some parchment paper down, and I'm going to I end up with 9 cups of chopped peppers, and so that's what I'm putting on here. I'm just going to spread it out, and then I'm going to put it in the freezer this way. I decided to freeze, by the way, and so I'm going to stick them in the freezer this way. That way, when I go to put them in the bags, they're already partially frozen and they won't freeze together in one big glob. I've made that mistake before, and it's very hard when it's time to use it to kind of separate what you do need. So anyway, you'll see here in just a little bit how easy this is to do. So I'm spreading it out on the sheet pan, and then I'm going to get it in the freezer, and I'm going to put them in there for probably a couple of hours and then get them in the bags. had been cooking down for about 2 to 3 hours at this point, and I was ready to get them into my jars. I'm going to fill them up to about 1 inch of headspace. I'm going to debubble. I'm going to wipe the rims and then put the lids on and get those in the canner. Now, my very last jar, you'll see here in just a minute, I like maybe 1/4 of a cup from filling it all the way to the top, and so I just add some water to it. That's okay. That's no problem. You got plenty of tomato paste in that jar, so it's not going to hurt anything doing that if you need to. And then once I get these in the canner, they will process for 15 minutes, and then we'll get those out and get those cooling on the counter. Here I am fixing to just break up those peppers, and they've been in the freezer for a couple of hours, and I'm going to get 3 cups in each quart bag and then get those back in the freezer. And I'm super excited to have these on hand. And I know this doesn't look like a lot, 9 cups isn't a lot, but it will last me quite a bit, quite a long time. And if I need more, I can just do this again. This is a very easy thing to do, very easy to process and to preserve. And that's going to do it for today's preservation project. So I hope that you guys enjoyed. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, I would love you to subscribe. Come back, hang out with me. I'm going to go and check off my list, and then there's still plenty more things to come that need to be canned and processed and preserved. So come back for more. Until next time, I will see y'all later. Bye.